We'd been married for 10 years. My husband David traveled constantly for work, or so I thought. Seattle to Miami, sometimes twice a month. Big client, he'd say. Can't avoid it. Last Tuesday, I found a birthday card in his jacket pocket. To Daddy, from Emma and Sophia. Our daughter's name is Claire. We only have one child. That's when I discovered. My husband has another wife in Miami, another home. 2 more children, an entire second life I knew nothing about. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below if you've ever experienced such a devastating betrayal. Living in our spacious Queen Anne home in Seattle, I thought I had everything figured out. David was a successful executive at Horizon Tech Solutions, bringing in a comfortable 6-figure salary that allowed us to live the life I'd always dreamed of. After getting my law degree, I'd built a respectable career at a mid-sized firm specializing in corporate law, though I scaled back my hours after Claire was born 9 years ago. From the outside, we were the picture-perfect family. David drove a Tesla. I volunteered at Claire's private school, and we took a family vacation each summer to places like Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon. We hosted dinner parties where our friends would comment on how lucky we were, how perfect our marriage seemed. "You guys are relationship goals," they'd say, while David would squeeze my hand under the table, smiling that disarming smile that first attracted me to him 12 years ago. The only downside was David's travel schedule. For the past 8 years, he'd been flying to Miami regularly, twice a month like clockwork. Each trip lasted between 3 and 5 days, and he always had a plausible explanation. The Miami client is expanding their tech infrastructure. The project deadline moved up. I need to be there in person. The team needs on-site leadership for this phase. He'd call every night when away, telling Claire bedtime stories over FaceTime and sending me texts throughout the day. Sometimes the reception was bad, or he'd say he was stuck in meetings, but he always checked in. I never suspected anything. Why would I? He seemed so dedicated, so transparent. Looking back, there were signs I ignored. The way he'd guard his phone. How he never invited me to join him in Miami because it would just be boring meetings. The separate credit card statements he insisted on managing himself. The mysterious gifts that would appear for Claire or me after his trips. Just a little something I picked up at the airport. But when you're in love, when you've built a decade of trust, you don't look for deception. You accept the explanations. You believe in the life you've built together. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning, and I was gathering laundry before heading to the office. David had left for Miami the day before, another critical client meeting. Claire was at school, and the house had that particular emptiness it always had when David was away. I picked up his navy blazer from the closet floor where he'd tossed it before packing his suitcase. As I folded it over my arm, something fell from the inside pocket. A homemade birthday card, constructed from construction paper with childish handwriting and glitter. The front showed a stick-figure family, a tall man, a woman, and 2 little girls, standing beside what looked like a palm tree. Inside, written in purple crayon, "To Daddy, from Emma and Sophia. Happy birthday. We love you so much." I stood frozen, card trembling in my hand. Emma? Sophia? We didn't have relatives with those names. No nieces, no goddaughters. Nothing made sense. The card was dated just last week, David's 42nd birthday, which we'd celebrated with a small dinner at home. My first thought was innocent. Perhaps they were children of a colleague. But why would he carry their card in his jacket pocket? And why did they call him Daddy? My heart pounding, I searched his closet more thoroughly. In his travel bag's hidden compartment, I found another wallet, identical to his regular one, but with different credit cards. A Chase Sapphire card in his name that I'd never seen before. A different driver's license, still David, still his photo, but with a Miami address. With shaking hands, I grabbed his iPad. We knew each other's passcodes, or at least I thought we did. When his usual code didn't work, I tried Claire's birthday. Nothing. On a hunch, I tried the date from the card. It unlocked immediately. His email revealed nothing unusual, but his photos told another story. Hidden in a password-protected folder were hundreds of pictures. David with a beautiful dark-haired woman on a beach, at restaurants, at what looked like a school function. David holding a baby. David with 2 little girls opening Christmas presents. David cutting a birthday cake with "Happy Birthday, Daddy" written in blue frosting. In his map app, I found saved locations in Miami: home, girls' school, Isabella's work, restaurant reservations for family dinner at places I'd never heard of, on dates when he was supposedly in business meetings. My hands now moving with desperate purpose, I turned to the internet. I typed the Miami address from the license into Google Maps and switched to Street View. There it was, a Spanish-style single-family home with a red tile roof and a palm tree in the front yard. Just like in the card's drawing, a child's pink bicycle leaned against the garage. On Zillow, I discovered the house had been purchased 8 years ago by David Anderson, my husband. Public records confirmed it. The property tax statements, utility bills, all in his name. With a growing sense of unreality, I searched social media. David didn't use much social media, claiming he preferred privacy, another red flag I'd missed. But on Facebook, I found a profile for Isabella Rodriguez Anderson. Her profile was mostly private, but some photos were public. There he was, my husband, in a beach wedding ceremony I never knew about. Married since 2015, read the caption on one anniversary post. But we had married in 2014, which meant I collapsed onto our bedroom floor, the evidence spread around me like shrapnel. David Anderson, my husband of 10 years, was legally married to another woman. He had another family, 2 more daughters, a whole separate life in Miami. This wasn't just an affair. This was systematic, calculated bigamy. Over the next 24 hours, I barely slept or ate. Instead, I methodically tracked every detail of David's double life, creating a timeline on our home office whiteboard, as if approaching this like one of my legal cases could somehow make it less personally devastating. First, I analyzed his travel patterns. David's business trips followed a clear schedule I'd never noticed before. First and third weeks of each month in Miami, second and fourth weeks in Seattle. Holidays were carefully divided. He'd be with us for Christmas morning, then catch an emergency flight to be with them for Christmas evening. Thanksgiving with one family, New Year's with the other. Our summer vacation always happened when the Miami girls were at summer camp, likely visiting their grandparents. The explanations for strange absences suddenly made sense. I have to work on Thanksgiving this year. Major system upgrade. The client needs me on Christmas Eve. It's their busiest season. I have to cancel our anniversary trip. Budget crisis at work. All lies. All times he was with his other family. Next, I dove into our finances. We maintained separate and joint accounts. For tax purposes, he'd said. Now I understood why. Accessing our joint accounts online, I found transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. He'd been systematically moving money to support 2 households. His actual salary was higher than he'd told me. He'd been directing a portion of his income to his other family for years. The college fund for Claire had an identical counterpart for Emma and Sophia. The retirement account was half what it should have been, the rest funding his Miami life. I discovered he used his position at Horizon Tech, where he genuinely was an executive, as the perfect cover. His role in international business development actually did require frequent travel, but only about half of his business trips were legitimate. The rest were family time in Miami. The timeline made my stomach turn. 10 years ago. Married me in Seattle. 9 years ago. Claire, born 8 years ago, bought house in Miami. 8 years ago. Met Isabella, likely during an actual business trip. 7 years ago. Married Isabella in Miami, while still married to me. 6 years ago. Emma, born 4 years ago. Sophia, born for 8 years. My husband had been living a complete double life. I searched for information about Isabella Rodriguez Anderson. According to her LinkedIn profile, she was 36, 2 years younger than me, and worked as a pediatric nurse at Miami Children's Hospital. Born and raised in Miami to Cuban parents, she had a warm, open smile in her profile picture, from the limited public. Photos. I could see she was beautiful, olive-skinned with long dark hair and expressive eyes. Her social media post mirrored my own naive trust. Missing my hard-working husband on his business trip. Proud wife. Girls making welcome home signs for daddy. Business travel sucks. Always traveling but always comes home. Blessed. My heart sank as I realized. She didn't know either. Isabella believed she was in a legitimate marriage with a traveling executive. She posted about missing him during his business trips, which were actually the weeks he spent with me and Claire in Seattle. We were both victims of an elaborate deception, both living with half a husband, believing we had the whole thing, both raising his children, maintaining his homes, supporting his lies. How had he kept track of it all? How had he remembered which stories he'd told to which wife? What events had happened in which home? Did he ever mix up details? Did he ever call her by my name or me by hers? I found a digital planner on his cloud account. 2 color-coded calendars. Blue for Seattle, red for Miami. Every detail meticulously recorded. Claire's soccer games, Emma's dance recitals, my work events, Isabella's hospital schedule, anniversary dinners, birthdays, parent-teacher conferences, all carefully arranged to never conflict. It was breathtaking in its calculated precision. For 8 years, David Anderson had been orchestrating a performance worthy of a psychological thriller. But now the performance was over, and I had front-row seats to the final act. I had 2 days before David was scheduled to return from Miami, actually returning from Seattle to his Miami family, then back to Seattle. 2 days to decide how to handle this revelation. Should I confront him alone? Contact Isabella first? Call the police immediately? Speak to a divorce attorney? I opted to secure my position first. I made copies of every document, screenshot, and photo. I transferred half of our joint accounts to a new account in my name only. I called my law firm and took emergency personal leave. I asked my mother to pick up Claire from school and keep her for a few days, making an excuse about a work crisis. Then I waited. When David walked through our front door on Thursday evening, he was whistling. He had a bouquet of flowers, my favorite lilies, and a small gift bag. "Hey, beautiful," he said, kissing my cheek as if everything was normal. As if he hadn't just left his other wife and children in Miami. "Brought you something from the trip." I sat still on the couch, the evidence folder on the coffee table between us. "Who are Emma and Sophia?" I asked quietly. His face changed almost imperceptibly. A slight widening of the eyes, a momentary freeze in his expression before he recovered with practiced ease. "What?" He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I don't know any Emma or Sophia." I opened the folder and removed the birthday card, placing it on the table. "They seem to know you pretty well. They call you Daddy." David's face paled. He sat down heavily, flowers still clutched in his hand. "Jen, I can explain." "Explain what? That you have another wife? Another family? A house in Miami I've never seen?" I laid out the documents one by one. The property records, the bank statements, the marriage certificate I'd obtained from Miami-Dade County Public Records. 8 years, David. 8 years of living 2 completely separate lives. I want to know how and why. He put his head in his hands, the flowers falling forgotten to the floor. When he looked up, his eyes were wet with tears I couldn't believe. "I never meant to hurt you," he said, using the most predictable line in the history of caught husbands. "Yet here we are," I replied coldly. David's explanation tumbled out in fragments. He'd met Isabella during a legitimate business trip to Miami 8 years ago. What started as a brief affair became more serious when she became pregnant with Emma. Rather than end either relationship, he'd created an elaborate system to maintain both. "I loved you both," he said, as if this excused everything. "I couldn't bear to lose either family. So you lied to both of us instead. Made a mockery of both marriages? I thought I could handle it. Keep everyone happy. Does Isabella know about me? About Claire?" He shook his head. "No. She thinks I'm just a consultant who travels to Seattle and other cities. She doesn't suspect anything." The practical details were almost worse than the betrayal itself. He explained how he'd set up mail forwarding services, separate phone numbers, different credit cards, fake business contacts who would verify his whereabouts if needed. He had a friend at work, the only person who knew, who would cover for him if schedules conflicted. "Did you ever plan to tell either of us?" I asked. "I kept thinking I'd figure something out," he said weakly. "That somehow I'd find a solution." "A solution? To having 2 wives and 3 children in different states? To committing federal crimes? To destroying multiple lives with your selfishness?" He had no answer for that. Does anyone else know? Your parents? Friends? No one except Jim from work. I kept the worlds completely separate. I stood up, suddenly unable to breathe the same air as him. Get out, now. Go to a hotel. Your lawyer will be hearing from mine. Jen, please. And one more thing, I said, hand on the door. Isabella deserves to know. If you don't tell her, I will. That night, after David left, I stared at Isabella's number on my screen for an hour before finding the courage to call. How do you tell a stranger that her entire life is built on a lie? When she answered, her voice was warm, with a slight accent. Hello? Isabella Rodriguez. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Yes, who's this? My name is Jennifer Anderson. I'm David Anderson's wife. Silence stretched between us, followed by a confused laugh. I'm sorry, but I'm David Anderson's wife. Yes, I said softly. That's why I'm calling. What followed was one of the most difficult conversations of my life. Initial disbelief turned to shock, then anger. Not at me, but at the man who had deceived us both. I emailed her copies of our marriage certificate, photos of our family, bank records showing the money trail. 10 years, I told her. I've been married to him for 10 years. We have a daughter, Claire. She's 9. 8 years, she responded, her voice hollow. Emma is 6. Sophia is 4. We cried together, two strangers connected by an unimaginable betrayal. I want to meet, Isabella said finally. Face to face. I need to see you, to make this real. 3 days later, we met at a neutral location, a hotel conference room in Atlanta, halfway between Seattle and Miami. Claire was still with my mother. Isabella had left her daughters with her sister. The woman who walked into the room was both familiar from photos and startlingly real. Isabella was shorter than me, with long dark hair and eyes red from crying. She wore a simple blouse and jeans, a gold wedding band identical to mine on her left hand. For a moment, we simply stared at each other, the two Mrs. Andersons, before I stepped forward and did something neither of us expected. I hugged her. She stiffened, then collapsed against me, both of us breaking down in each other's arms. Over the next several hours, we compared stories. The same anniversary gifts given months apart, the same spontaneous romantic gestures, even the same pet names. He'd called us both my star in private moments, a detail that made Isabella throw her coffee cup against the wall. He used the same proposal speech, she said, showing me a video on her phone. Word for word what he said to you, from what you described. We're not enemies, I told her, reaching for her hand across the table. We're both victims here. Together we crafted a plan. Separate divorce attorneys but coordinated strategy. Full financial disclosure between us. And the most difficult decision, what to tell our children. They're innocent, Isabella said. But they're also sisters who have never met. The legal implications were staggering. Our attorneys explained that David had committed bigamy, a felony in both Washington and Florida. He faced potential criminal charges, prison time, financial penalties. His career was effectively over. No company would keep an executive after such a scandal. For the children, the impact was heartbreaking to consider. Claire would learn her father had another family he'd hidden from her entire life. Emma and Sophia would discover their parents weren't legally married at all. 3 little girls would suddenly have half-sisters they never knew existed. Should we introduce them? Isabella asked, showing me pictures of her beautiful daughters, their dark eyes so similar to their father's. Are they better knowing each other or staying apart? I don't know, I admitted. But I think someday they'll want to know. They share half their DNA. They're sisters, regardless of how they came to be. When we parted at the Atlanta airport, we hugged again. No longer strangers, but partners in an unwanted journey. Whatever you decide about pressing charges, Isabella said, I'll support you. Same, I promised. We'll get through this. Back in Seattle, with Claire returned from my mother's house, I faced impossible choices. My attorney outlined 3 main options. First, I could report David's bigamy to law enforcement. He would likely face criminal charges, substantial fines, and possible imprisonment. This would bring legal justice but create additional trauma for all 3 children. Second, I could pursue a quiet divorce, focusing on financial settlements and custody arrangements without criminal proceedings. This would minimize public exposure, but might leave David insufficiently accountable for his actions. Third, I could expose his double life to our entire social and professional circles without involving law enforcement. This would destroy his reputation and career, but might appear vindictive. As I tucked Claire into bed that night, her innocent questions tore at my heart. "When is Daddy coming home?" she asked. "Daddy's going to be living somewhere else for a while," I said carefully. "We have some grown-up things to figure out." "Is it because of his work? Is he in Miami again?" The question sent a chill through me. "Why do you ask about Miami, sweetie?" She shrugged. "That's where he always goes." "I heard you talking about Miami." How much would I eventually need to tell her? That she had 2 half-sisters in Miami? That her father had been living a lie her entire life? That the family she thought she had was only half real? Meanwhile, Isabella faced her own decisions in Miami. Through our daily texts and calls, I learned she'd moved in with her sister temporarily, telling the girls their father was on an extended business trip while she processed next steps. "Emma asked when Daddy's coming home," she texted one night. "I don't know what to tell her." "Claire asked the same thing," I responded. "There's no guidebook for this." After 2 weeks of agonizing, I made my decision. I would not pursue criminal charges against David. The potential prison sentence would only further traumatize Claire and her half-sisters. Instead, I would seek a comprehensive divorce settlement that acknowledged the extraordinary circumstances, including compensation for the years of deception. Isabella decided similarly, though with a different approach to the aftermath. While I wanted minimal contact with David going forward, she believed the girls needed their father in some capacity, however supervised and structured. "They're so young," she explained. "They won't understand why he disappeared completely." "You're a better person than I am," I told her. "No," she sighed. "Just making different impossible choices." The Seattle house sold quickly. Neither of us wanted to remain in a home filled with fake memories. Claire and I moved to a bright apartment closer to my office, where I'd returned to full-time work. The divorce settlements from both marriages left David nearly bankrupt, his assets divided between 2 families he'd betrayed. His career imploded even without criminal charges. Once the divorces became public record, his company quietly asked for his resignation. His carefully constructed reputation dissolved overnight. Claire started therapy, slowly processing the confusing reality of her family situation. At first she was angry, at David, at me for making Daddy leave, at the world. Gradually, her therapist helped her understand that none of this was her fault, that she was loved, that families come in many forms. As for the sisters' question, after months of discussion, Isabella and I arranged a carefully structured meeting. On a sunny Saturday in San Diego, neutral territory, 3 girls who shared a father met for the first time. Initially shy and confused, Claire, Emma, and Sophia eventually found common ground over ice cream and a playground. They had the same eyes, the same laugh. Claire, the oldest, showed protective instincts toward her younger half-sisters, helping Sophia cross the monkey bars, including Emma in their games. "They have his smile," Isabella observed quietly as we watched from a bench. "But hopefully not his character," I replied. We'd decided to allow the girls to develop a relationship at their own pace, with regular video calls and occasional in-person visits. They weren't responsible for their father's choices, and denying them a connection seemed punitive to innocent children. David now lived in a small apartment in Phoenix, starting over with entry-level work, the glamorous executive life gone. He saw the girls on a limited, supervised schedule established by the courts. Whether his remorse was genuine or merely regret at being caught remained debatable. Isabella and I maintained our unlikely friendship, united by a bizarre shared experience few others could comprehend. "Sister wives turned sister friends," she joked darkly during one of our weekly calls. As for me, the trust I'd once given freely became a scarce resource. Dating seemed inconceivable, though well-meaning friends occasionally suggested getting back out there. How do you explain to a potential partner that your trust issues stem from your ex-husband's secret second family? Yet there was unexpected strength in the aftermath of devastation. I'd discovered resilience I never knew I possessed. I'd protected Claire while allowing her to build a relationship with her sisters. I'd rebuilt our lives from the ashes of deception. On my 40th birthday, the first since the divorce, I received a package from Miami. Inside was a bracelet with a simple engraving. Truth always surfaces. Survivors, not victims. Isabella's card read simply, "From one strong mother to another." Standing on my new balcony that evening, watching the Seattle skyline shimmer against the darkening sky, I realized a fundamental truth. David hadn't just betrayed our marriage. He'd stolen years of authentic living from all of us. But while he'd taken our past, he couldn't claim our future. That belonged solely to us now. What would you do if you discovered this? Would you prosecute or just divorce? Leave your comment below. Subscribe for more true stories. Share if you believe cheaters should face consequences.